good morning, and good night. Thanks again for downloading the Body Snatchers podcast. And when you listen, stream, or download straight to your device, Castbox is your best option. Remember, if you like what you hear today, don't forget to subscribe and comment. So let's get started. Enjoy the show.
All right, guys. Good morning. Good night. Thank you for choosing the Body Snatchers podcast. Tino here, hanging out with Steven. It's going to be kind of a chill show today. It hasn't been just you and me in a while, huh?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Right?
I am drained. I woke up early for this Body Snatchers thing.
You're a coward.
That's existed.
You should get up better and work harder, do better, be a better person, you know? Like when I wake up, my motivation for getting up in the morning is like, I know that Steven won't, so this is what I got to do.
Yeah, waking up to me a good 12 or 1 p.m., that's my comfort zone.
Man, and the time clocks change? Like, ugh. Who wants
Do we
to
lose
deal
4
with that?
hours?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Thank God I didn't have work today. So Friday, I finally had the opportunity to go check out the Captain Marvel movie, and I enjoyed it. I did. Oh, and you know what? Before we get started, guys, hit the subscribe button. Hang out with us. Stay, please. We need friends. And head over to bodysnatcherspodcast.com. Make sure you check us out on the audio podcast for those of you who are driving to work who want to BS and have nerd talk with us in the mornings, or you just want to put headphones in because you're tired of talking to your spouse because they never, whether it be male or female, nobody wants to hear their spouse that much. You don't get to live with somebody. I don't care how hot they were when you got with them or how much you love them. Talk.
Yeah, in the Lucy show, they slept in separate beds, and I know why. They just needed that space.
Right? Well, also because Ricky was blowing everybody's back out.
Yeah, he was a celebrity. He was a big deal.
We're talking about I Love Lucy, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he had Lucille Ball. He had all those other Cuban chicks. He was the man. He definitely.
Yeah, he was a superstar.
Definitely had an STD. And then his neighbor
back then, yeah,
his neighbor
was fatal.
What was his neighbor's name? Like Fred, I think, the bald dude.
Fred and Ursa.
I forget her name, but I know he was Fred because he was iconic, and I know his ass used to come over and just hate on Ricky all the time. Like he was just like, "Oh, Mister, I got the hot wife, and I get all the women, and I'm the front man of the band." Freaking Cuba, he couldn't wait for Ricky to get deported. Could not wait. He was definitely.
Yeah, and he did. He didn't like minorities, but he was always nice when he came over there.
Oh yeah, that's that front, man. That was Trump till he became president. Oh wait, it's not a political show. I'm sorry. Back to Captain Marvel. This movie is getting so much weird criticism. Like people hate it. They want it to fail. They're being really nitpicky. And then on the other side, there's people like, myself who, I try to be as honest as I possibly can, being a fan of comics, being just a nerd in general, and also just a movie fan. And you know what? This movie didn't disappoint me. I don't think it was the best movie I've ever seen. And I wish it was. I really do wish, it would have hit like my palate for everything. But I don't have any like major complaints. Did you?
No, it's I kind of put it this way. If when it comes on Netflix, I'm not gonna put it on when there's nothing to watch, like I do Infinity Wars or Winter Soldier. I liked it. I didn't think there was that much wrong with it. I don't pay attention to the politics online or what critics say. I just watched it for what it was, a Marvel movie. And I enjoyed it from front to back, but you got to compare it to the other Marvel movies that came out. And it's sort of like Ant-Man and Wasp or even the Hulk or Thor 2. It's like in that group. And I hate that it's like that because she's supposed to be the strongest Avenger, and I know she's going to have a big part in Endgame. Well, that's what I read. I heard she was stronger than Thor. Is that accurate?
No.
No?
Debatable, but in my opinion, no.
Yeah.
But she's a heavy hitter, though. She's probably the only Avenger she is the only Avenger that's been brought into the MCU that could potentially go toe-to-toe with Thor full power. But I don't think that would make her stronger. I mean, we could get into detail later. That's kind of why I was hoping Gia could get on the show, because we would have some fun bringing up some old comics and feats and stuff of that nature. But no, she's like Iron Man has in the past, but that was due to unnecessary, power ups, things that aren't normal. But your standard version of Iron Man is not going to go toe to toe with Thor. I don't think any version of Captain America is going to go toe to toe with Thor. that I can recall, anyways. There's a version of Spider-Man where he gets what was it, the power cosmic, I think, and yeah, he would have thrashed Thor, but that was temporary. Like it didn't stick around. That was like the equivalent to one of the like Marvel characters getting the Phoenix Force or something. You get something like that, yeah, then maybe you can handle Thor. But these base characters, nah,
Nah.
not even Captain Marvel. She could hurt him though. But yeah, she's cold, and it's nice to see that she's finally been implemented into the universe. One thing that I liked the way they did it, Captain Marvel, comic wise, has always been really messy, like really really messy.
What do you
Um,
mean personality-wise?
no, well, yes, actually, but like there's a lot of different variations of the character. She's been written and rewritten multiple times. She is not always a she. At one point, she was a he. Going back to like Marvel, and there's also a lot of messy stuff going on, which we're going to be talking about in a couple weeks between like Shazam or the DC Captain Marvel, because there was actually a comic book company, off the top of my head, I apologize, I forget the name of the show, maybe I'll look it up when I get a minute, but that originally had like Captain Marvel's Shazam, the DC version that I'm referring to, and they went under, if memory serves correct, and ended up getting picked up by DC way down the line. And I think DC had actually sued that company because when they came out with Shazam, and this is going back to like the 40s, 50s, like a long time ago, when they came out with it, he resembled Superman so much. Like DC was like, "I'm gonna sue you. Stop." And then and then later on, fast forward into the future, when that comic book company was no longer around, they ended up picking up Captain Marvel, but they changed the name to Shazam, because by the time that they got it, uh, our Marvel, this universe, what's behind my background, ended up having their own version of Captain Marvel at this point in time, so they couldn't keep it or utilize the name anymore. So even though he's Captain Marvel, he's Shazam now. That's why there's a lot of stuff going on with that. And I know this is a really quick explanation. There's a lot more to it than that. So before any nerd people rage out, chill. You can add extra commentary in the comments. The show is limited, but I'm just giving people who may not know anything about this, some insight, a little bit of info. You guys can look it up later. It's actually really interesting. If you're wondering the confusion with that. But getting back to the movie, Carol Danvers, like I don't know, man. Like I really enjoyed it. It's probably one of my favorite Marvel movies. The special effects were there. The chemistry between Brie Larson and Samuel Jackson was perfect. I was laughing when it needed to be
Yeah,
serious. It was
Marvel buddy
serious.
cop movie.
You say what?
Marvel buddy cop movie. That's pretty much what it was.
And I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay
Yeah,
with
I
that.
like it. It's a good formula.
Yeah, and not only that, Samuel Jackson's de-aging. Can we just focus on that for a little bit here? Like, dude,
That
what?
was amazing.
It was
That
the
was amazing.
best de-aging ever done. Like I remember uh it was one of the more recent Terminators, and they did like a CGI version of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's probably the second best like de-aging thing I've ever seen, where he technically, I don't even think he was in the movie. I don't think he showed up for film or anything. They just were like, "Hey, can we use your likeness? Thanks." And you know, redid his body to where he was like naked. Remember the time warp from like Terminator 1 and 2, where like they like curl up in a little ball and like a time machine, they
Yeah.
just appear on the ground. Uh, it was that exact type of body. So it was like the Terminator had just been given the skin. He was getting ready to go to the past, and and it looked like Arnold from the 80s. Like it looked badass. And
And you know that technology is getting good to when you see it and then you forget about it throughout the movie.
well,
It just blends in so well.
yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, I probably the only things that I noticed with that, if I wanted to nitpick, was Samuel Jackson being, he's older now. I still love him to death. I absolutely do, and I hope that he's around for many many years to come and makes a lot more movies. But some of his movements, like there's a scene where he's fighting a Kree, or was it Kree? No, I'm sorry, Skrull. He was fighting one of the Skrulls, and
Yeah.
his movements like weren't super fluid. Like it looked like
You
an
can tell it was an old man in there.
yeah, and like
I know
obviously
what you're talking
they had
about, yeah.
stunt doubles and stuff. I guess for it to be a little bit more believable, I kind of wish they would have let the stunt double do the majority of the fighting. And maybe they did, but and maybe they toned it down for whatever reason. But that was the only time where like the movements felt a little too slow for somebody who's supposed to be so badass in his prime. Uh, but
Yeah,
that
the combat wasn't that big in this movie to begin with. Nothing
uh,
really that memorable.
well, I mean, I guess like a 1v1 combat, if that's kind of how you're referring to it, sure. But as far as special effects go and just cool feats that were happening,
Okay.
uh, I freaking like where's the nut button when Brie Larson was in space and she's Captain Marvel. You can see there's powers, so I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
it's really
her.
a spoiler. But she is flying and is like throwing haymakers and smashing through a spacecraft, and I was just
That was cool. Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like just everything in me because we've never really gotten to see anything quite like that. Because with Thor, like Thor is the only character that we just said, who has the potential to do a lot of this awesome stuff, and he usually doesn't. There's some scenes like when he's whipping the hammer around and he throws it and he rips it through the monster's throat, comes out the other side of the back of the head. That was cool, but that was probably like
Right.
the coolest. Like, oh my god, it's Thor. He has planet busting capabilities, on screen that we've seen. But to see somebody smash fist after fist like through the spaceship, dude, like oh my god, I threw my popcorn, I was screaming, got up, did like a rain dance. I was excited, you know and I think that's what this movie should be. It should get people excited. I think that the whole female empowerment thing, I think Brie Larson did a really cool job at that because like I can only imagine um, how it feels for young women to obviously okay you've had we had Black Widow, but it's
Yeah.
just it's just not the same. Like she's badass, but they haven't even given her own movie, which I think is bullshit. Sorry, but I call it like how I see it. It's the equivalent to having like a War Machine and Iron Man. It's just for black people, it just wasn't the same. But when
Right.
Black Panther came out, and here's the thing, Black Panther, it's an okay movie. Like I loved it, absolutely loved it. It was necessary, but it was. Let's be real here. It was just okay.
I thought it was a good movie.
It's good. It's good, but it's just like it kind of flatlines. And I think that Captain Marvel to an extent kind of does too. I can't say it's one of the best films ever made because it just it's an introductory type of film. She's getting her powers. It's an origin story. So there's only so much they're gonna be able to do with that
Right.
usually. And I think it was done really, really well. But going back to my point is, I just remember going into the theater and seeing people that look like me being really excited to see people that look like me on screen, and that look like my family member. You know what I mean? It's different, man. Like when you see like all of that come together, and they didn't scream in your face like, oh, it's a woman, this is for women. They didn't do that because I hate it when they do it that way because it feels forced. They just had a chick who had to climb to the top and get through some stuff to get to where she was, and it was not an easy road, and it got even messier once she got kind of, so to speak, to the top. But by the end of the film, you feel empowered. So I can only imagine like how young girls are going to feel after seeing this. It's going to be similar to the effect of what they saw from Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot. So
Right. And doing a standalone with a woman, I bet you Marvel had a lot on their plate and they had to do it the best of their ability. I mean, this was a long movie too, right? This is about 2 hours.
a little bit over, yeah, a little bit over.
Yeah, so they put as much as they could in there and everything pieced together, especially for me that knows absolutely nothing about the background. They put everything to you, and then you're like, this doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And then throughout the movie, it pieces together for you. And something that I really, really liked about this movie, speaking of women empowerment, no one was trying to jump her bones throughout the entire movie. There was no like male that she was clinging on or any male in the story that was a love interest. I think
Not a
that
single one, not a single
not a
one.
single, and I thought it was awesome. I think it was like, all right, like you said, little girls are watching. They're watching no smutness, no romantics,
Well,
and I think that's pretty cool.
and to your point, not only that, like, okay, Brie Larson is insanely attractive to me, at least.
She'd get it.
It's debatable. It's insanely
Yeah,
attractive to me.
she'd get
And
it.
but here's what was cool is like I was very attracted to her watching the movie. Like I'm like, ah, damn, Brie. But to be honest, they don't portray her in like an over sexualized way at all. at all. She's
Right.
not showing off her belly button or her legs. And that, it's not to say that a woman can't. It's not to say that she can't. I don't, I'm not
Mhm.
trying to go there with it, but it's just a lot of these times, they'll just try to sell you something sexy. They do it with male superheroes too. They do it in Thor. Oh, he's taking his shirt off. He's, cutting up trees, whatever the hell they got to
Yeah.
do to sell it. And they didn't do that. They dressed her up in like a grungy 90s outfit. She had a 9-inch nails shirt on with like a flannel wrapped around the waist. And for her to still be strong and attractive and them not need to, sell you on this goddess sexual, over sexualized thing. I just thought that was so dope because it's a breath of fresh air. Because even Wonder Woman, as I know what they tried to do, and yeah, I don't mean to take shots at it. I'm not, but it's the best comparison that I can think of is she was kind of out there a little bit, and she is in the comics, but I mean this chick, she's wearing a full body suit, man. She's not giving nothing away. She's not giving away no cheeks. She's just
Right, and bringing up Wonder Woman, I enjoyed Steve Trevor. I have absolutely no problem with him. I just think it's refreshing that in Captain Marvel, they didn't need none of that. And you're right, it's cool because when she did change into that grunge outfit, there was no, like, 5 minutes they coulda took to where she tried on a dress and she's like, "Nah, this ain't me." Or she put on a grunge outfit and she, like, tore the legs or tore the shirt or something to make herself more comfortable and sexy.
or
You
wore
didn't
the
need
wore
none
the
of that.
wore the belly shirt version of the Nine
Yeah,
Inch
you know what I'm
Nails
talking about,
with
yeah.
yeah, she didn't do any of that, and I think that that's awesome. Because let me tell
Yeah.
you something, man. Like on a personal note, especially being like a voice in the nerd community, I see a little bit of everything. And to be honest, like I'm just at a point in my life where on Twitter, for instance, let's talk about Twitter. I'm at a point where like I'm blocking and unfollowing people who are just like sex, sex, sex. Here's a 13-year-old teen titan and now we're gonna she's super over sexualized. It's not to say that like that it isn't art. It can't be cool from a certain perspective, I suppose. But I don't
Right.
want to see that. Let some 13 or 14-year-old dude who's like, oh, I want to see that. You keep that over there. Like
Right.
I don't want nothing to do with that. And the cosplayers, beautiful women everywhere. You can have an attractive sexual look here and there, but like these like the lewds and stuff, it's kind of annoying to me to see like the only way we can make it is if we're showing our bodies constantly. And I think that's messed up. That's the wrong message to have. You want to have a cool image here and there where like here's this one attractive lewdish type of thing that I did, but here's 6 more cosplays where I built beautiful battle armor and a
Mhm.
helmet. And that's what I like. That's what I want to see. And
Exactly.
I hope that people who cosplay this, I've already been checking out cosplayers who are already on this movie, and dude, it's nothing but phenomenal work. I want to do a cosplay, like a gender bend as Captain Marvel. I was such a big fan, and I hope I get a little bit of clout for it because I think it's going to be dope when I'm all said and done. They're gonna be, is that black male dressing up as Brie Larson? Yes, yeah, because I was like I was a fan, dude. She kicked ass and took names, and I was concerned. A lot of people misinterpreted what I said on Twitter, and honestly Facebook too, where I was saying I think that Brie Larson should chill out a little bit for the promotions of this movie. And what I was saying when she should chill out is she's putting
The
out that,
agenda?
yeah, she's putting out a lot of like political views and stuff, and I don't think they're wrong. In fact, I actually agree with them. It's just she was stirring the pot, in a way where it could have potentially damaged the amount of money that this movie, can make and should make. And that's what I was concerned with. That's why I was like,
And
Brie,
it did
like, I feel you, but
it
like, just wait till it drops. Just like,
and it did affect it. Look at the reviews. I'm sure a lot of those reviews are just because of what she's been saying and what she's been doing. And I kinda like how, what was before the reviews didn't make sense? Was it Alita? That or no, it was Anthem. It was Anthem. We did a show on Anthem, and the reviews just didn't make sense. A lot of them didn't connect. It's the same thing with this. They're not becoming reliable resources of information anymore, and I like that. You'll read them on. I read it on Fandango. A lot of them, it's like they didn't even read the movie. It's all political. So why is that validated as an actual review?
well, I mean, and it shouldn't be, but that's part of the reason that we do, reviews on this show and so forth. This show is funded out of our pockets and also, through patron members, and it assists, immensely. And we don't have millions of followers, but for those that want to check
Yet.
in, well, maybe someday, but but those who do want to check in and just have it, hear an honest discussion for what some regular Joe Schmoes think, who some know comics really well and some don't. I think that this is like a fun vibe. Honestly, my personal favorite reviews are from people that do things similar to this,
Right.
because I can't trust anything from GameSpot, IGN, Rotten Tomatoes, like any of that. And these are supposed to be professional movie critics, and I feel like they've gotten away from uh like lore and character dynamics and just character building, development, all that kind of fun stuff. Now they just like jump right into it and like, it was dry because they didn't pay us enough money. I'm like, oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, and it was dry because you don't know much about it. Maybe you didn't get sleep the night before. I mean, they do reviews and they push them out so fast and so quick. They probably put their opinions balled together for every movie that should be considered different.
Facts. uh and we're getting, I guess, a little bit off track with talking about that. Let's talk about Goose the cat.
I like Goose.
Hold on, wait, pause. Do you guys see my new Captain Marvel mug?
That is a nice mug.
If you only knew how hype I am for this movie, like I'm such a huge fan of it. But yeah, going back to Goose the cat, there's a lot of controversy surrounding the damn cat. People aren't happy about that. So let's talk on that before we get into that. What did you think? Because I thought it was dope. I seen the cat and was kind of wondering where they were going to go with it. Because even this picture right here, I seen one officially from Marvel that came out with, instead of Brie, it was the cat, and I was like,
It was a cat.
yeah, yeah.
I like the cat. I think they did a great job building it up. It was like one of those. It was the same storyline with the Mummy, where you got the cat and everyone's scared of it because it's a cat. They like, oh, they're the guardians of the underworld or something. It was kind of like the same vibe, but then that they had a real legit reason to keep the cat in the story. And then Sam Jackson just made it so much better with Goose. The way
Dude,
he talks to Goose,
he
the way he
really did.
interacts with Goose. He was probably my favorite part in this entire movie was Sam Jackson. He's just so good. I think he's not underrated because he's in everything he wants to be. But it's just keeping him on the screen through the whole movie was not a bad choice.
Oh no, he did an excellent job. I'm gonna have to agree 100%. And with Goose, like, I thought Goose was hilarious, but also necessary, because like he helped move the plot forward. Because
He did.
otherwise it wouldn't have made sense. And let's bring up what I'm talking about. So let's see. I'm just I don't want to spoil it for like everybody. That's the thing. It's like I feel like if I talk
Right. It's
too
gonna
much
be
into
rough
it,
because he does have a
I'm trying to think
pretty
like,
good.
how can I word it without like destroying this. Okay, so in I think it was Winter Soldier. It was one of the Captain America movies. Um, there's a scene where they discuss how Nick Fury loses his eye very briefly. In fact,
Mhm.
I think he even there's even a shot where like they pull up the eye patch and kind of show it. And due to events in Captain Marvel in the past, we finally get to see what happened, as to how he lost it. Now, I can't. There's really no way for me to water this down without ruining it, so I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens. There's obviously mild context clues, but I want to leave that open for you because I feel like it would be just an injustice if I did that. Like you guys, like, why would you tell me that? I need to know, so I won't.
Right. It's a
But
pretty fun part.
they tell you in this movie, and the community of real fans, they're upset because the explanation that we got for the loss of Nick Fury's eye is not satisfactory to them. And that's really disheartening because it's a crappy way to just nitpick at something in the movie. I think it's been bugging me a lot. I've seen a lot of people just going in, like literally thousands of people are upset about it. And there's people on the other side of the fence like myself who are like, guys, the way that it was put together was well thought out. It did make sense. So I don't know what you wanted it to be.
Right.
you know
It was simple, it was clean, it was fun. What do you want? Like, you want a whole backstory just for his eye?
Apparently they do. Apparently he needed to be off in another galaxy somewhere because he's Nick Fury, a human who's at the beginning of Shield, and they wanted him to fight some galactic warrior and get, half his head ripped out and then reconstructed, but the only thing they couldn't fix was the eye. It's like, what did you guys
I'm
want?
sorry, we couldn't save it.
Yeah, we got everything else though, mostly. Like what did you want it to be? Because the way that it's written is pretty good. And again, I have no complaints with it. I just wish the community would chill. I'm like, dude, you guys are finding anything you can to attack this movie. Like, I'm not saying it's the most award, winning level movie I've ever seen, but it's good from front to end. Jude Law is very convincing in this movie. He's a very interesting antagonist, and they made some funny ass scenes with him by the end of this film. Like that last fight, the very very last fight scene, Steven, did you not like laugh hysterically? You know what
I
I'm
did.
referring to? When he's like this is your chance to prove to me right now that you can do this. Yeah, so we'll
It
we'll
is.
leave it there, but there's a funny scene where you'll be pleasantly surprised. So you guys definitely need to check that out.
Well, to me, since you brought up that part and people who've seen the movie know what I'm talking about, I would have liked something along the lines of the Winter Soldier versus Captain America when they got that fight in the street. Just throwing hands, and even when they were training in the beginning of the movie, Captain Marvel,
Yeah,
uh, it was choreographed pretty good. I would have liked just something like that, and then just a little bit of hands, but it was fine. It's not a big deal to me. This is going to be a mid card movie in Marvel. I'm not putting it up over any of the big ones. Like I really like Black Panther, Avengers, Winter Soldier, um, Iron Man. I don't put it up there. I put it right in the middle to where it's a good movie. You need it, but you're not going to be watching it over and over again.
true.
And there was something I was going to ask you. A lot of people were comparing her backstory to Jon Stewart's.
Okay,
Are they the same?
they're similar. Yeah, yeah, they're definitely similar.
How similar? Like,
Um, I mean, they're very similar, very similar.
I
You know,
thought that was interesting when I was reading that. I'm like, that's a little too close. The backstories.
well, I mean, yes and no. He was a pilot.
Hmm.
Actually, I can't remember if he was a pilot specifically, but he was in the Marines. And obviously she was in the Air Force, and things happen. But you know, the way that he joined, that group, it was it's just different, man, because he stayed with the Guardians, you know, with the Green Lanterns. And
Right.
she in this movie has obviously left the Kree. So I mean, like there's little differences. And then he was assigned his sector, which obviously ended up being where the galaxy that where Earth is included. So he keeps an eye on that, and so forth. It's similar, but it's kind of like a shitty way to compare him, because really the bigger comparison here is comparing the Green Lantern Corps and the Kree, or like
The Kree.
the Nova Corps more specifically.
Okay.
So I think that comparing the Nova Corps, Green Lantern characters like Nova versus John Stewart, Hal Jordan, and all them, it makes a lot more sense. Their origin stories are a little bit different, but the organizations themselves are essentially the same thing. They're guardians of the universe. They're and it's a militant type of thing, and they have crazy adventures. The difference though between the Nova Corps and the Green Lantern Corps,
Uh-huh.
is that the Green Lantern Corps loses all the time. They're like the world's biggest losers. Like everything from their planet being destroyed to the founders, the Guardians, like always having some deep dark secret. They're like, oh my god, there's this new enemy that like can even fold Superman. Where did he come from? And the Guardians were like, look, man, I didn't want to say it, but a couple millennia ago, we did some shit we shouldn't have did, and we thought it was over with, and it's not, and we can't stop it now, but maybe you can. Like that happens all the time with them. And
Right.
they're fucking useless. I absolutely hate the Green Lantern Corps. I shouldn't say that. Like I like the Green Lantern Corps, but out of like the spectrum of ring colors, like they're not my favorite. And the Blue Lanterns are probably just as annoying, to be honest with you.
So we're coming up in time. I was gonna ask you, going into Endgame, what do you expect her part to be in it?
That's such a strong question because it could go so many ways. It really could. Um, I think that she's going to have a major role, uh, but I honestly think that they're not really.
A simpler question: is she
She's.
going to be in the role as leader, or is she going to be in the role as she's just going to get her spots in,
I
do
think
some Captain Marvel stuff?
no, she's just going to get her spots in because she's just now coming into there. They don't know who she is, and also we haven't seen her in a leadership type of role on screen yet. You know,
Hmm.
honestly, none of the characters really have it. Like good leadership mentality. If you think about it, like yeah, okay, we know like Iron Man and Captain America sort of, but they were kind of just barking orders essentially. Like we haven't really seen like great leadership qualities out of any characters.
That is
Um,
true. Captain America is still like the default leader, right?
well, he is. I mean, in the MCU, he displayed really good leadership abilities in his own movies, like really good ones. Where he was like he had the squad and was at World War II, and he was just like, all right, guys, you go there, you go left, I'll go right. We like there he nailed it. Like I was like, dude, leader. But with the Avengers, I mean, they all it's like do I gotta listen to you? We're a team. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
it's
It's like Tony Stark makes everything and has all the money, but everyone listens to him. Listens to
yeah.
Steve Rogers.
But going back to kind of your original question, I think that Captain Marvel's going to have like some pretty badass important scenes, but I don't think that she's going to fly in and just beat the snot out of Thanos and like that's going to be the end of the movie. Like I don't think so. I think she's going to get folded. We haven't seen her fight anybody on like equal terms as far as power is concerned. So yeah, I don't think she's going to just swoop in and save the day. She's just going to have a really important
Right.
role.
And not only that, there's a time skip that nobody's thinking about. She could be way OP by now.
Maybe she
And
has
now
a better.
you got two OP characters now. You got Thor, you got Captain Marvel. Who are they gonna fight?
Well, I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see, but I mean,
Yeah.
even those two characters together don't stand a chance against somebody who's got the Infinity Gauntlet with all the stones in it.
Is
Like,
that gauntlet still at full power?
yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't diminish or anything. No. So I mean,
Because
I'm
we
curious to
seen
see.
we seen the gauntlet fried and all that. It looked like it gave me the impression that the power was spent or at least exhausted for a while.
Nope, that's all in your head.
Nice.
Nah, that dude
That's
is
good to hear
just
then.
way too OP right now. Um, so we'll see what happens. You already know what's going to happen on screen. They're going to water it down because Thor they watered his ass down the whole movie until the very end. But it was like too little, too late, and everybody
Right.
else was at their limit, like just getting folded left and right.
Oh, geez. The one more thing. People are always arguing and asking. In your opinion, why didn't Thor just aim for his head the first time? He
Be-
seen him, he threw his axe, it hit him in the chest instead of the head.
Because that axe, even with Groot's arm as the base, just couldn't pierce through the plot armor of the movie. It just wasn't. It just wasn't powerful enough. And that's kind of where we're at with that.
I said he was too far away. He's seen Thanos, he just chucked it, and he just wanted to hit him. It could have hit his knee, could have hit his shin,
Well,
it hit him in the chest.
I mean, if you want to be technical, he had that axe for like maybe half a day, and his whole
Uh-huh.
life he's been throwing around a hammer. So like maybe the weight of it, the distribution was a little bit off. So like his aim was there, but it's like you got to get used to it. It's like driving a new
Throwing a
car.
tomahawk isn't easy.
No, it's got to be like driving. It's like driving a new car, man. You ever get in like a car, like let's say like your very first car versus the car you have now.
Uh-huh.
There's probably some big differences as far as the way it
You got to get
accelerates
used to
and
it.
brakes and dimensions of the vehicle. You can't just jump in a car and parallel park it if you've never been in it.
Right, right.
You gotta get adjusted. So I think maybe that's why. If we
We're smart. We're so smart.
Marvel should pick us up.
Yeah. They should pay us a lot of money.
You know what? Yeah, I like that. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
They should do it.
Yeah. I knew you would.
Now,
I knew you would.
And also, before we go, just a little fun fact I'd like to put in there. I jotted their names down because I'm not familiar with them. But Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, those are the team, you will, of directors that did this movie. And I just thought it was cool because they're just like some low key like indie filmmakers. I mean, they've done a lot of work, which I imagine is probably very good work. I honestly haven't checked it out, but everything that I've seen as far as reviews, etc., is concerned, like how wild would that be if you were just like a small time like indie film like maker, and then Marvel was like, we'd like you to direct one of the biggest movies of all time and make us hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even $1 billion. That's wild. That's wild.
It would be a dream come true. I mean, it's like this, you know, you do indie work for a long time, maybe even years on years, and then you get this one opportunity to do something big.
And
You
then
just got to make sure you're ready.
And then they take it all away from you when they find your tweets, like James Cameron.
Yeah.
Is it too soon? Too soon?
No. If anyone goes after my tweets, I'm probably going to prison.
Okay, well, I guess we're at time. So make sure you head over to bodysnatcherspodcast.com. Like, share, comment, do all that fun stuff. Check out our Patreon account. Help us keep the lights on because, like I stated earlier, we're like an indie podcast. Ooh, that sounds cool. Can we just do that now?
That was pretty good. I like it.
That's going on our next business card. Indie podcast.
Indie podcast. No one tells us what to do.
That sounds hip. We drink. We only drink microbrews and vape. All right. Take care, guys.
All right. Later.